Okay, so here we are today with, ta-da, as promised,
Hi, everybody.
Katie Oskin of Cater's Acres. Where's that little boy? Where's that little guy?
Here you go.
And of course, Parker.
Yeah, he's not hibernating this time.
No, he's right here. And Parker wants you to know that Katie is going to be doing a wonderful steampunk leaf pendant for you today, and you're going to love it because it's like so simple. This is so Bisou.
Yeah.
Because Bisou likes easy. When it comes to the polymer clay or pea clay or whatever you want to call it, pea clay.
The poly
Oh,
clay.
we're gonna get a big for calling it pea clay. No, polymer clay, which is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful medium, and I'm gonna put him right here so he's looking at you. Not something we sell at Bisou boutiques, but I am so in love with the medium that we just have to do some videos on it and show how it mixes in so nicely with the good stuff at Bisou boutiques. And Katie's going to do that for you today. So I'm just going to hop on out of the picture because she's doing this one on her own, she and Parker, and with some good stuff from Bisou boutiques. So bye-bye from me, and hello, Katie.
Okay, guys, so this is what we're doing today. We're making a bunch of steampunk leaf pendants that you can put on jewelry, add to most brass things, and of your assemblage from Bisou. So I'm going to show you how to make these super quick and super easy pendants. And let's get our supplies together so we can work on our projects. Okay, so some of the projects, or the supplies rather, that you'll need for these projects are these brand new steampunk little baggies from Bisou. It's got all kinds of cool watch parts and things that just go fabulously with this project. So be sure to get one of these. The other thing that's really awesome to have are the vintage stones. Oh, these things are gorgeous. And look how many of them there are in that bag. They're just awesome to add to these projects. And if you want some fun, make sure you get some little propellers. They are BROX 0683 and they spin. Whoops, they spin. So that makes them very fun. And then there are two different kinds of gears that you can also get on the site, BROX 01756, and these are the smaller little brass gears. And then here's much larger ones, which are super fun, and you can cut these apart, so these are really nice to have, BROX 01749. And there's a whole bunch more steampunk stuff on Bisou's site, so make sure you go to the steampunk heading at the top and grab yourself some good stuff for your project. The other things that are not from Bisou that you will need are an X-Acto knife, a small brush, or better yet, my favorite tool, your fingers, a sculpting tool, a dotting tool, a collection of perfect pearls, whatever colors you like. Metallic colors work best. We have gold, heirloom gold, cappuccino, pewter, and bronze. All are great options for this project. Yes.
I have to interrupt from over here, sorry folks, but we do carry perfect pearls and mica powders with. So you can find those at Bisou's.
Great. So get your perfect pearls from Bisou's while you get all your fabulous gears and stuff there too. You'll also need some translucent liquid Sculpey to add to your project, and some chalk sets if you have them. They are optional whether you use them or not. You'll also need some polymer clay. This is all Primo clay. It's my clay of choice. This is copper. I'm sorry, this is bronze. This is copper. This is gold. And this is 18 karat gold. So get yourself some metallic clays. And the last and probably most important thing that you will need are some kind of a stamping tool for your leaf pattern. These are embossing folders that you can get for the embossing machines like Sizzix or Cuttlebug. Yeah, a bunch of those machines. These will work for clay too, so I'm going to show you how to use them. And you'll also need a needle tool that you can use to put your TLS onto your brass. So let's get started. Okay, so to begin your project, the first thing that you'll need is a cup of coffee, because let's be honest, claying is just more fun with coffee, or hot chocolate, or apple cider. Make sure you get yourself something good to enjoy. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your clay. Again, I use Primo. You can use whatever polymer clay you have. You want to condition it fully on a number 2 setting of your pasta machine, and then roll out a sheet of clay. Now this is nicely conditioned, so it's nice and soft and wiggly, which is good because you want it to be fully conditioned for this to work. You're just going to take your embossing folder, and again, these are the ones for the Sizzix machines or Cuttlebug machines. You're going to place it inside your folder. Now you can use an acrylic brayer and roll it across the surface, but I think that that squashes the clay and makes it too thin for the pendants. So what I do is I just simply push on it with my fingers, and you can see the clay. When it actually goes into the clay, you'll see it kind of, can you see that, Javi, where there's air in here? That means it's not on the clay, and then where it is on the clay, can you see that? Okay, so make sure that all of your areas are pressed down, then hold it and turn it over and do the same thing on the back, just to make sure that your shape is fully embedded. And you can choose any shape on your template that you have. I just kind of like this one in the middle. Then you're going to go ahead and lift up your project, and what it's going to do is it's going to emboss that clay for you, and just peel it off. Because my clay was so fully conditioned, you'll notice I did not use a release agent. These templates are really nice. You don't always have to use release agents with them as long as your clay is fully conditioned. If your clay is firmer, it will stick in there and it won't remove quite as easily. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your X-Acto knife. You can also use a blade for this, though I find that a blade is harder to maneuver. You're just going to take your X-Acto knife and you are literally going to cut right on the outside of that design. Now what I do, because I actually cut at an angle, I like to turn the clay, not my blade, and I am right-handed. For me, this makes it much easier, but feel free to turn your blade instead of the clay if you would like. And you're going to do this the entire way around your leaf shape. And with the magic of video, check it out. There we go. Okay, so there's a fully cut out leaf. And all you do to trim up the edges to give them the kind of their leaf ruffliness back is just use a sculpting tool. Hold it in your hand and literally indent the edges. That will make a nice leaf pattern for you. Now the benefit of using a template such as these that are used for embossing paper is that when you use them you get 2 images on your clay. You get a raised image on one side, and on the other side you get an image that is flat and pressed down into the clay. I prefer the raised image, but you can use either side. So depending on what your project is, feel free to turn your leaf over. Now the next thing you're going to do before you add gears or anything else is to grab your mica powder and to add your mica powder. Now for any of you who've ever used my tutorials or who have taken any of my classes, you know that I have very, very strict rules about mica powder because I think it's overused in some cases. However, for this project, you're going to break all those rules because the more mica powder, the better, because this is steampunk. So have a good time, get dirty, and use lots of mica powder. But what we're going to do, the way I like to build my mica powder on these leaves, because I do want them to kind of pop and to sparkle, is I'm going to actually start with my darkest color and place it first and work my way to the lightest color. This will help to make sure that the leaf pops and sparkles more in the places you want. So go ahead and add it either to a small brush or your finger. I like to use my finger. Notice I put my finger in the lid, not in the jar itself. This will help to keep your perfect pearls from contaminating so that you don't get multiple colors in each jar, but it will also just help to give a subtle hint of mica powder as opposed to like that wham in your face effect, which sometimes can be good. Let's be honest, Brenda.
I've done plenty of it.
Yeah, I have too, just generally not on purpose. Okay.
Well, I can't say the same. I don't know what you know about clay. I just know what I know.
Okay.
I know what I like.
That's all right. We all like different things. All right, so take your finger and just gently tap the surface of your piece where you want the dark powder. Now if I take my finger and press real hard on here, I'm going to get probably more of the mica powder than I want. So I'm just kind of pressing all over. Then I'm going to take a different finger. I'm going to take my ring finger and I'm going to smooth it all down. What that's going to do is just give kind of a nice little matte metallic effect. See how nice that looks? And I'm going to take my same finger. Now on this side, remember the pattern is reversed. This is actually going to be the back, so the back does not look quite as finished. We're not actually going to finish the back, but this way, if your pendant should flop over or something in your piece, at least it will look like you put a little effort into it. So I take whatever's left on my finger and I'm just kind of bump it around and then rub it in with the same finger. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to take the majority of the mica powder that's left off of my finger. So just kind of rub it around. Okay, now we'll take our second darkest color, do the same thing. Finger in the lid of the jar, get a good amount on your finger. Can you see that, Javi? Look at that sparkle. You glitteraholics out there, check that out. Isn't that awesome? Okay. And then again, I'm just going to tap it onto different surfaces. Use my ring finger to blend it in. Now you can really strategically place this so that it almost has like a pattern to it if you want. I'm just kind of placing it willy-nilly because, well, that's how I like it. But you can do whatever you want. It's your pendant in the end. I'll take the pewter color now, nice silver color, and add it in a couple places. Notice I'm not completely putting the color on every portion of the design because I only want certain colors on certain places. Go into the bronze color, and the bronze is about the same color as the clay. So what the bronze will do in the case of this clay is actually bring some of those veins and things back out to the surface, and you'll see that here in a minute, how it's just going to kind of make those things just pop again. You still have the undertone. We'll turn it and we'll do the same thing on the back. Now my favorite is the gold, and I like to do the gold in a certain way for the leaves because I want my edges to pop. I actually put the gold on my fingertip. I pick the leaf up and I just go right on the edges of the leaf. This is going to give a nice little bit of pop and shimmer to the edge of the leaf. And then I just rub it out with my finger, and there you'll have your finished leaf. You can see all the different metallic effects on that. Okay, so you've taken the metallic clay and now you've added more metal coloring to it. Excuse the reach. Wipe off your fingers, and now it's time to steampunk it up. So the next thing you'll want to do is gather some of your awesome watch parts, which you can get from Brenda in a little bag, and her bags of watch parts have things that are all different sizes in it. So you'll get some big things, you'll get some little things. So this is something that you might want to pre-plan a little bit as to what you're going to do. The first thing that I'm going to use though is one of these awesome propellers because I just think these are awesome. I like the way they spin, and clearly I love them because I keep saying the word awesome.
Because they're awesome.
Because they're awesome. They are awesome. I have a slight addiction to them.
I just realized if I come over here I can see what's happening.
Hey. Welcome, Brenda. Everyone
Welcome.
say hi to Brenda.
I'm here.
Hi, Brenda. Okay. Okay, so in order to put these little things on, what I do is I roll a ball of clay. I want to make sure that it's bigger than the actual base of the pendant, but I also want to give it some room to squish out. So I actually do it first, not being on the pendant, before I put it on the pendant. Remember that once you put mica powder on your pendant, you're going to take away the clay's natural stickiness, so you will need TLS or Bacon Bond in the end. So I'm just going to take this nice little ball, put the propeller on it, and give it a squish.
When you say TLS, for people like me that don't know what it...
Translucent liquid sculpey.
Okay, I thought that's what you meant. I do know what that is. I actually have it down here.
This is yours, Brenda.
Oh, is it? I just didn't know it by the abbreviated form. Okay, so TLS is translucent liquid sculpey. So
Correct.
3 times fast.
Yes. And then say seashells by the seashore after it, and you'll feel even more proud about yourself. Okay, so now that you have this on, you can see this little bit of clay squished out from the ends. Now at this point, you can take the clay off if you want to, or leave it on. I like the way the squished clay looks. I always leave it on, but you can take it off if you want. Before you actually put it on your leaf though, you'll need to add your TLS. I'm going to put mine kind of down here a little bit. And again, the only reason I'm doing this is because the clay to clay will not stick as well with the mica, okay? So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to place it where I want it. Let's place it a little off center, that'll be more cute. And give it a push, okay? And it's okay if that TLS gets a little outside because you're going to put more gears and things on, so don't worry about that. If it really bothers you, take your needle tool and just wipe it right off. Okay, if it bothers you that much. No big deal, okay? All right, so the next thing that we're gonna do for this little leaf is we're just gonna add some of these watch parts. I don't know if Javi you can see back here, but I just put my TLS on a little spot away from everything on my work surface because these pieces are so tiny. If I just put TLS willy-nilly all over my leaf, it's going to ruin the surface of the leaf when it bakes. So what I do is I just actually put the TLS on my needle tool, get a good little glop of it on, and it's still going to be messy. Don't get me wrong, this is not a non-messy thing. But I then actually just take it and I put it directly on the piece of metal itself, okay? And then I take it and I place it onto my piece. I'll just put that one right there. Okay, so that's really all that you have to do to put these on. So again, put your TLS onto your needle tool, place it right onto your metal, and then place it where you'd like to. I use my fingers to pat it down initially, but what I like to do at the end, you'll see that none of these had those spiky pieces sticking out from the gear, and a lot of real watch gears actually do. This is one of them. I don't know if you can see it at all. These are so tiny. But there's a piece that's actually sticking up on here, okay? So what I like to do is put that actual piece right into the liquid clay. Yep, you're going to get it on your fingers too. And then I take that gear and I stick it down through the holes of the other gears to let that one kind of hold the two in place, okay? Because the other two, even though you put TLS on them, they still can lift after baking. And because this is going to be worn on something, it will have a lot of things done to it. So I always finish off a piece with having a gear with metal going down into the clay with TLS on it. That way it's not going to go anywhere. It's a secure piece. All right, so the next thing that I like to do for my steampunk designs is to use a tiny little dotting tool. There's several ways you can do this, but one of the ways that I like to do it is to accent vein lines. I think it looks pretty neat. The idea with these pieces, find one you can tell with. Once they are done baking, if you add an acrylic wash to them, all these tiny little details that you add with a needle tool or something else, you will see once you add an acrylic wash on, even though they're no longer there, okay? So one of the things that I like to do is to take my very fine dotting tool, or you can use a needle tool, and I like to add little dots right along the leaf vein line. I don't know why, but I do. Now remember that when we make clay things, we like things to have body and to look functional. In the case of these leaves, we're not going to bend any of them because this is steampunk. Steampunk is metal. Metal doesn't have nice frilly bends to their leaves, okay? It's going to be flat. So these are kind of like the little rivets or joins of the seams, and I think the veins just make a nice little touch as if it was two pieces of metal coming together. The other thing that I like to do is to take a gear, place it on the piece, and then take my needle tool and actually press the gear down into the clay. And then lift it off. And what that's going to do is, again, when you put, well, you can't see it now, once you put that acrylic wash on it, you can see on this piece there was a full tiny gear. Here is another tiny gear that I laid down over here. And even though they're not there anymore, once you add the acrylic wash on top of it, it will pop out from the background. So some of these things you're not doing so much for now, but you're doing for later. The other thing that I like to do is to take a gear, and I don't know if you can tell on this gear or not, Hobby. It has, ooh! It would be better if I kept it in place, right? It has little things jutting out from it. Can you see that? Okay. What I like to do is take that gear, place it down on my clay, up and down, and roll it. Boop, 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 boop. And what that's going to do is make little divot marks that were the same place that they were on the gear. And I just kind of do this randomly all over because, again, once you add the acrylic wash, it is a really, really neat effect. And if you want to take one of your little gears and do the same thing, place it on the clay, take your tool and really push it down. Now you might need tweezers for this if you have big fingers or if you have arthritis. Tweezers will really help you here, but I'm just going to push that all the way down into my clay and then just flick it right off. Boink! Mm-hmm. Okay, so while it doesn't look like a whole lot now, once you bake this, it becomes something different after adding your acrylic wash. So here's a bunch of different examples. This is one of the vintage stones from Bisou, done the exact same way that we did the propeller. I did it on the work table first because I wanted to make sure, one, that the size was correct, and number two, I wanted to add TLS under here to make sure we had a good solid join. And I did the same thing, added watch parts using a needle tool, and then accented with my dotting tool. And let's give this one a nice big chunky imprint right up here because I think it needs it. Okay. And then once you add an acrylic wash to these, they will really pop. Now here's another one, done the exact same way. And this is another vintage stone. Okay, now this one I put a faux leather belt around it and just did some simple accents. The only thing that I did with this one is when I pressed with the pattern, you can tell all of these leaves have stems. In the case of this leaf, I left the stem on and I bent it so that up here then actually becomes its own hook. Okay, now the only way to do this though is to make sure that these seams are blended so that it gives it a little more strength. Okay, so there's that one. Here's another one with another, you can tell I love these little turny things. Look at that, there's my little propeller. That's just fun, let's be honest, that's just fun. Okay, so there's another one, and this is done the exact same way, but you can see your different colors of clay here. This is the old Primo bronze that I had an obsession with and probably bought like 50 bars at one time, and I'm now down to like 6 bars, and it makes me very sad because you can't get this clay anymore. So I'm sorry guys, but you can't buy it. But this, they have a new bronze. It's just not as dark and rich and red as this. And the other thing that I like to do that I will show you in our next pendant is to actually take the gears and to use them as the places that will be, that you will actually hang as part of your chain. So the chain would actually, you could put your split ring through here or your chain directly through there, and it actually becomes the way that you hook your pendant. Okay, so let's do one of those, and then I'll show you also my super quick, easy way to make a belt. Thank you, Christy Friesen, for teaching me how to make a belt or a
I wonder how
buckle.
many people she's taught how to make a belt.
Hundreds of people, I would
Yes.
imagine. Okay, so again, we have our leaf. Okay, we have 2 sides to our leaf. I'm going to again use the side that is embossed down with the raised surface. And because we're going to bling this one up a little, I'm just going to add a little bit of mica. I'm not going to add too much onto here.
You know, speaking of Christy Friesen, we're getting kind of excited too because before you know it, it's going to be 2016 and she's coming back.
All right.
And Katie will
Can't
be
wait.
her right-hand assistant because we're going to have a
Oops.
big class. And we're going to be doing some unique things with polymer clay and assemblage.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It will be.
So if your clay comes, or your mica comes out all on one finger and goes sploosh, like it just did,
Sploosh.
it can still happen. Just take a wet wipe and kind of dab at it a little, And it'll take a little bit of that excess right off the top for you, okay? So that's an easy way to help. Oops.
Those just look so awesome the way you cut them out from that folder.
Yeah, I like these better than stamps because
Those
I don't know, I
those are
just do.
amazing. And you know what else I could see? Not to interrupt, but I am.
Go ahead.
If you took this and folded, I'm not going to touch it. If you took this and folded it and embedded a wire in it, you could make the most amazing wired piece out of that.
Yes, you could. Yes, absolutely. Very, very, very easily. Okay, so in order to make the hook, the gear hook, you just need to take any kind of a large gear and cut it in half, and that's what you'll get. Okay, so now you have half a gear. Remember, part of working with polymer clay is to give the illusion that something is there when it's actually not. So take your brass piece and put just the ends of it into TLS. I'm very, very generous with my TLS because I can clean it up later. But you'll just coat the ends with your TLS, and very, very carefully you're going to stick them into the upper portion of your leaf. Now I say carefully because this clay is thin. You don't want to push it through the leaf. Okay. Now again, if you would like to and you're a picky person, you can just kind of wipe up that extra TLS with the baby wipe so that it doesn't get on your piece. Okay. Alright, so that's how you take your gear and you bury it. You can add some crystals or whatever you would like. In this case, though, what we're going to do is we're going to add a big giant gear. Let's use this guy. We've been using him for most of the video. He can have a permanent home, though, now. I'm going to gently press it in. Where'd my needle tool go? I'm going to gently press it in so that it has a nice, firm little indent here, so I know where I'm going to put it. And then I'm just going to put some TLS actually on the clay this time, because we're going to put a belt over it. So I want to see where it's going to go. This little guy, and put him back. Blink. Oops. Wrong side down. Put him back in. Again, give him a tiny little shove back in place. Okay. Alright, now to make a belt, it is so simple, much easier than it looks. Again, I learned how to make my belt from Christy. I'm sure there are lots of ways to make a belt, but this is a quick and easy way. Cut. This is that copper clay you can no longer get, but it's rolled out to the 5th smallest setting on your pasta machine. So it's very, very, very thin. Okay. And I'm just going to cut a little point because I think it's easier. I do not believe Christy puts points on hers, but sometimes things I think are easier one way than the other. This works for me. So you're going to take and cut a little tip into your clay, and now I'm looking for my jump rings. I don't know what happened to them.
You know what? I could probably find you one.
They are gone. Well, you need a jump ring to do this next step.
Never fear, I will find it.
And Brenda's gonna find us one because I don't know what happened to mine.
Don't worry about it.
And I don't think we.
This will be too big.
It'll work. We'll make it work.
That is something we have at the site.
Okay, there you
It's
go.
not a jump ring, it's like a little teeny itty bitty circle that you can do all kinds of connecting things.
Okay, so this is a connector that you can get on BC's site. All you're going to do is you're going to take your clay and put it through the circle this way so that your tail's hanging out one end, and fold the clay over and give it a little press. Okay, now you have this belt looking thing. Pretty cool, huh?
Yes.
Now I'm going to take this belt, because we have the gear here, I'm actually going to put the belt a different direction than I had planned. I always use my belts, you'll notice, I always use my belts to look like they're holding something else down, just because I like the look of that. You do not have to do that. That's just the way I like to do it. So anything goes. But then take your belt, and what I do, you can wrap this the whole way around the back, but since the back is covered with mica clay or mica powder, it's not going to stick. So I'm just going to cut it and then wrap it over the other side.
You taught us this last May.
Yeah.
When you were the teacher.
Yep. Yeah, I learned mine. I learned it from Christy.
From Christy.
Yep. It's in her, I think the book is Steampunkery. I
That
think
book
that's
is
the book
so
it's in.
popular.
Don't quote me on that. I think it's in there.
I had that book I had it on consignment from Christy for the open house, and we got rid of every last one of them.
Okay, so what you're going to do is go back through your loop. Now, I had just kind of moved it up, which you can. Move it up. Pull your end back down and around, and take it just to the edge of your clay. And I'm going to give it a trim here. Now, always use your needle tool. We did not put mica powder on the edges, so use a needle tool or a sculpting tool or something to really press that in, because if anything's going to break, because this clay is so thin, it's going to break there, okay? And then you can take a dotting tool or a needle tool, and I like to add actual belt marks like it's a real belt. So here's your little belt notches. And put some on this side too. Or maybe stitched things like it was stitched on. Little rivets, okay? So that kind of gives it a belted look. And then from there you can add more of your steampunk parts. Now this one has a little sharp tip on it, so we'll save it for last. And we'll place the ones that are just flat first. Again, put your TLS directly onto your metal. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera or not, but it's on there. And then press them down. Just use my fingernail to do it. Let's see, what else do we want to put on here? I'll put this little guy on here. The only thing that this really takes is some patience, because the pieces are so small. And if you don't see well, it makes this even more challenging, because it's small. It's very small work. And I think that's why not a lot of people gravitate to it, because it's small. Or at least the parts are small. Okay, again, I put TLS right on the sharp pointy part. And I'm going to put the sharp pointy part right between where the two gears overlap and give it a press. Okay, and that gear is coming out over the side. I like things to spill out over the sides because I think it looks a little more dramatic that way. But you don't have to. You can keep all your gears on your piece if you want. And that's it. You're going to bake everything. If you've used Primo clay, bake everything in your oven for 45 minutes to an hour, covered in foil, and those are your pieces. So I hope you have fun. I hope you enjoy them. Make sure you go to Bisou's, where you can get all these really cool, good brass stuff.
And talk about Cater's Acres.
You can come to my website, catersacres.com. I have a lot of free tutorials for polymer clay. And I also have, Parker has his own little sculpting club, so you can come and make whimsical characters with us too. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I hope you guys have fun. Explore the world of polymer clay and have a good time. See you next time. Bye.
Yay. Oh.